It was a foggy evening in London, the kind of weather that seemed to swallow up the streets, leaving everything shrouded in mystery. Detective Henry Adams stood outside a grand old mansion, its stone walls covered in ivy, and its windows dark and silent. The place had been abandoned for years, but something unusual had brought Adams to this particular location. A strange series of events had unfolded here, and the whispers of a ghostly figure from the past had reached his ears. It all began with a letter that was left at the detective agency. The letter was typed, with no signature, but the words were chilling. Detective Adams, I need your help. The ghost of a soldier from the Great War haunts my home. Strange things are happening, and I fear the spirit will not rest until its mystery is solved. Please come quickly. Yours truly, a concerned citizen. Adams had seen many strange things in his career, but the supernatural was not his usual realm. Yet, curiosity and a desire for answers drove him to accept the case. He had arrived at the mansion, which was located on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by dense woods. The owners of the house had long since passed away, and it was now in the care of a distant relative, Mr. Thomas Blackwell, who had contacted Adams. Blackwell was a man in his late 40s, with a nervous, jittery demeanor. Detective, thank you for coming, Blackwell greeted him at the door, his face pale and his hands trembling. I've been hearing strange noises at night. It's as if someone is walking through the halls, but when I check, there's no one there. And then, the letters began. What letters? Adams asked, stepping inside. Blackwell led him to a large study, where several pieces of yellowed paper were scattered across the desk. Each letter had the same message: the war is not over. This has been happening for weeks, Blackwell said, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know who is sending them, but I fear it's the ghost of a soldier from World War I. Adams took a seat at the desk and studied the letters carefully. There was no return address, just the cryptic message. Something about it felt eerie. The detective was used to solving puzzles, but this was unlike any puzzle he had encountered before. Where did these letters come from? Adams asked. They were found in the attic, Blackwell explained. I had the place cleaned out, and these were hidden in a chest. Some are even written in blood, and I can't make sense of them. The detective glanced at the old wooden chest, which was now placed against the wall. Have you checked the attic thoroughly? Blackwell nodded, but there was a trace of fear in his eyes. I have, but I haven't been able to find anything useful. Only old uniforms and dusty relics. Adams stood up. I will check the attic myself. The stairs creaked beneath his feet as he climbed to the top floor. The attic was dark, filled with old trunks, books, and forgotten furniture. As he carefully examined the room, his eyes fell on a faded portrait hanging crookedly on the wall. The painting showed a young soldier, dressed in a military uniform from World War I. His eyes seemed to follow Adams as he approached. The soldier's expression was grim, as if he knew something the world did not. Suddenly, the detective noticed something odd, a small drawer in the corner of the attic. It was hidden behind a stack of old books. When he opened it, he found a small leather-bound diary. It was old, with pages that had yellowed over time. He flipped through it, reading the entries. The diary belonged to a soldier named Captain Edward Mallory, who had been stationed in France during the war. The entries described his experiences in battle, the horror, the loss, and the longing for peace. But towards the end, the tone changed. Mallory wrote about strange visions and voices. He began to hear voices of fallen comrades calling to him from beyond the grave. The final entry was the most unsettling of all. I hear them now. They are calling me. I must go to them, but I fear I am not ready to join them. I will write one last letter to my family, and then I will answer the call. Adams felt a chill run down his spine. The diary ended abruptly. The soldier had never returned home, and his body had never been recovered. The mystery of his disappearance had haunted the town for years, but it seemed as though the ghost of Captain Mallory was still seeking something or someone. The detective's mind raced. Could it be that Mallory's restless spirit had somehow returned? Was he trying to communicate with the living, or was he seeking closure for an unfinished mission? Adams returned to Blackwell, holding the diary in his hand. I believe I've found the answer, he said. This ghost is not here to harm you. It's trying to resolve something from the past. Blackwell's eyes widened. What do you mean? The soldier, Captain Edward Mallory, vanished during the war. His body was never recovered. He may have been one of many who died in the trenches, but his spirit was unable to find peace. The letters, the noises, these are all signs that his soul is trapped here, unable to rest. Adams continued, I believe his spirit is trying to communicate something important, something he couldn't say before he died. But it's not the work of a malicious ghost. This is a cry for help. The detectives spent the next few hours investigating further. After piecing together clues from Mallory's diary and the letters, he discovered the location of a nearby graveyard where soldiers from the Great War were buried. It was here that Mallory's body had been laid to rest, without a proper funeral or ceremony. His final wish had been unfulfilled. Adams arranged a proper ceremony, and as they laid flowers on the grave, the air grew still. For the first time in weeks, Blackwell felt the weight lift from his shoulders. The ghost of Captain Edward Mallory had finally found peace. As Adams left the mansion, the fog began to clear. The mystery had been solved, and the ghost had been laid to rest. The war may have ended long ago, but some battles were fought in the hearts of those who remained, seeking closure, understanding, and peace. And for the first time in years, the mansion was quiet again.